Hey, what's up? And welcome to this video. How are you? I'm I'm going to assume you said I'm good or I'm swell or something like that because I can't actually hear you. So in this video, we are going to talk about adjustments in Affinity Photo. Now, adjustments are just that. You can make small changes or major changes really quickly, and it's non-destructible on your photos and your photo composition. So let's just get started. So what I always like to do before we begin is make sure that your screen looks like my screen by setting everything back to default by going up to Window, Studio, and Reset Studio. Okay, now where are the adjustments? They are located in your layers panel on the right-hand side down at the bottom here. And it sort of looks like a circle that's half black and half white. And when you click on it, you'll see a whole bunch of options. And for this model, in this example, I'm just gonna pick the black and white adjustment. And I'll show you why adjustments are actually even more powerful than you think once we get started here. So I'm gonna pick black and white. Now, you'll see when I pick black and white, the picture has changed to black and white. This black and white box has appeared with these sliders, and the black and white adjustment has also appeared at the top of my layer stack here. Now, if I start moving these sliders, I can adjust it to how I want it to look or whatever I want. So let's just do this. Now, here's why adjustments are super powerful. They have built-in masks. Now, if you don't know what masks are, I have a video I will link below, which I must say is top-notch and kind of explains how that works. But they have masks built in. Now, what that means is I can remove this adjustment with my paintbrush or portions of this to make a different looking photo. So right now I have my black and white layer selected, my black and white adjustment, I'm sorry. I'm gonna go to my paintbrush over here in my tools on the left. You can also hit B on your keyboard. And if I start painting in black, I can start removing the black and white adjustment where I paint. So say I wanted to bring her lips, the color of her lips back, and this is not gonna be great, everybody, by the way, because I'm just doing this quickly as an example, but I could paint her lips or any part of this picture back in what it looked like before I made the change. So let's grab her lips and maybe we'll do her eyes right here. And maybe we'll do her nails. Again, this won't look fantastic because I'm not taking any real time on it. But all I'm doing is because there's a built-in mask on all adjustments on Affinity Photo, I can paint them away or paint them back in. So say I like this photo and I thought it looked good, but I wanted her eyes to still be black and white. I could just change my color over here on my color panel and I could just paint her eyes back and they would go back to gray. So that's the important thing to know about adjustments. All adjustments have built-in masks, which make it super, super powerful and make your editing kind of to another level. So that is a black and white adjustment. Let's go to another one. Okay, so we got this guy, this dangerous guy standing on the train tracks. But you know what? He's not really on the train tracks. I just added him in there, so he's not really there. Now, we've got two pictures in this one, so I'll show you something here. So on this guy, I'm gonna make this one really subtle. I'm gonna select this guy, because you'll notice the background is really warm, and maybe it's at dusk or sunset, and this guy, it looks like it was taken during the day or in a studio, so his skin tone doesn't really match the background. So what we're gonna do is go to our adjustments down here, the bottom of our layers panel, and I'm just gonna pick white balance. Now, you'll see I have my white balance window. Another thing I want you to notice is when I've done this, the white balance adjustment has appeared at the top of the layer stack. Now what that means is if I start moving these sliders, it's gonna affect everything below it. So if I start moving it this way, it's gonna affect him and the background. Now I don't want that. I like the background. I just want to affect the model. So I'm gonna grab my white balance adjustment and I'm just gonna drag it on top of the model. Now I have the model here, which is the parent layer, and the child layer is the white balance adjustment. So any adjustment I make here is just going to affect the model. I'll link also a video I have below on advanced layers, which explains how all this stuff works. But yeah, if you don't know, check that out. So now that I have my white balance adjustment attached to the model and I start moving these sliders, it's gonna be very subtle, but I wanna make his skin tone a bit warmer. So I'm just gonna pull it this way. So nothing crazy. I don't wanna make it too ridiculous. So right now, if you look with the adjustment on, and this is what it looked like before with it off. Now it's just minor, but it makes his skin match in the picture a little bit better. So that's part of doing some photo composition. Now that this is done, I can always adjust any adjustment I have selected by just clicking on the thumbnail here, double clicking on it, and the window reappears. And I can change it or reset it or do whatever I want. So anything you set is not set in stone. It's all live. You can change anything. So any adjustment you make, just re-click on the thumbnail of the adjustment, go back and make your changes. So that is an example, a subtle one of an adjustment. Let's do another one here. Okay, so I got this goldfish here and I got this other fish. Don't know what kind of fish he is. Looks pretty cool. And I've just added this goldfish in. He's not really there. And for this one, we're going to do an HSL adjustment, which is hue, saturation, luminosity, which allows you to control particular colors or colors in general and change them. So let's click on my fish. I'm going to go down to my adjustments, and for this one, I'm going to pick HSL. Again, my HSL, my adjustment has appeared at the top of the layer stack. I don't want it to affect everything below it. I just want it to affect the fish, so I'm going to drag it on top of the fish. And again, you can see I have my fish, and below it is the child layer, so it's attached to the fish. And I'm just going to start dragging these sliders around, and you can see it's changing the color of this fish as I drag things around. So let's make this maybe not as strong. Maybe like this. Make them kind of a cool color like this. Cool, we'll make them like this. Now, again, because there are masks built into each adjustment, and I have my adjustment selected here, I'm going to grab my paintbrush, and then I'm just going to start painting away my adjustment and exposing the original color. So that's an example of using the mask, the built-in masks to this adjustment. Now let's do one more. Now there's a lot of adjustments. I'm not going to go through all of them. I might do a video later where I explain all of them, but I personally don't even use all of them. There's a handful of them that are really, I use all the time, and some other random ones. But let's go to one more example. Okay, so this one is, we're going to do a curves adjustment on this one. So if you can see in this photo, I have a sky in the background, and then I just have these mountains and this like desert kind of looking landscape. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this, I'm going to remove the sky from this desert background here. So I'm just going to grab my selection brush. I also have a video on selection brushes if you want to go check it out. It'll show you how to isolate objects and edit them further. So I'm just quickly doing this. I'm isolating these mountains from this sky. I'm going to grab that. And again, no crazy editing here today because we're just doing examples. Now, you see I have the sky, and now I have these mountains I've added. But you can tell that they're two different photos. They don't look like they belong together. So what I'm going to do is go and add a curves adjustment, and curves are really powerful. I use them all the time. I'll do a separate video on curves because they're pretty advanced, but I'm going to add a curves adjustment. My curves adjustment has appeared at the top of my layer stack. I just want to drag it on top of my landscape scenery, my mountains there, because I just want it to be affected. And the way curves work, you'll usually get this little map here, and if you drag down, things get darker, and if you drag it up, things get lighter. So I'm just going to drag it down a little bit because you can tell this is, again, at sunset or dusk, and the other ground photo was probably taken during the day. So I'm just going to pull it down just a little bit to make it a bit darker. You'll also notice in curves, there's this drop-down menu where it says master, red, green, blue, alpha. So you can control these particular colors. So I'm going to pick red because I want it to be just a little bit more red to make it look a little bit more realistic with the sky. And it does matter where you click on this line, but it's also just playing with it to figure out what looks best. So I'm just going to drag this bar, just drag it up a little bit, just to make it a little bit more red. If I went too high, we'd be on an alien planet. I want it to look somewhat realistic, so I'm just going to bring the red up just a little bit. Nothing crazy. So you can see I have my curves adjustment attached to my ground layer here, and it doesn't by any means look great. It just looks a little bit better, and you got to tweak things to make it look right. So this is with the adjustment on, and that's with the adjustment off. So on, off. And again, because there's masks built right into this, if I select my brush and I start painting, I can paint away what I've done. If I don't like it, I can change it back to white, and I can repaint it back in. And everything is non-destructible, everything is live, so anything you do, you can always change it back. So that is adjustments. Again, if you ever have any adjustments applied to your anything in your layer stack, just double click on it and edit it, reset it, delete it. Everything is live, everything is non-destructible. You can't do any damage. So adjustments, again, really minor changes or really major changes. The important thing is that you can always change them, and that there are masks built right into them, which take your photos to another level because you really have control over what you're doing. So, because I'm a YouTuber, I gotta ask, if you like the video, can you please tap that like button? And if you've seen this video and you've never seen my stuff before, and it's helpful to you at all in any way, if you could please subscribe, I'd be forever in your debt. And I got more stuff coming. I appreciate you watching. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I'll get back to you right away or as soon as I can. And I will see you in the next one.